Hey, what's going on, everyone? So, why have I finally quit Facebook after 13 years of being on that thing? God damn, that's a long time. Well, there's a number of reasons. First and foremost, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to this pool of energy that we have right here within us. It's incredible, and every morning we wake up, it grows. Every moment of the day, it can be growing. Every day, it can grow and become stronger. It's a power source. It's like our life force. It's like when you cut yourself and you start to heal. We're all constantly in a state of natural rising, natural ascension. We're incredibly powerful, alive beings. And it's not just physical injuries that will heal, but also deep inside us, mental, emotional, our nervous system is constantly healing. You can call it physical, you can call it mental, you can call it emotional. The important thing is we are constantly in a state of healing and growth. Now, a lot of us wind up leaking out a lot of this energy. And how do we leak it out? By paying attention to things that drain us, that tax that energy. And there is a ton of things out in the world that crave our attention, that feed off our attention, that survive off our attention and energy. Almost everything out there in the world is vying for that, wants that energy. We're like energizer bunnies, we're like batteries, and the world wants to feed off that. Porn sites want more attention. They want more of that energy. They're going to use it. They're going to farm all that attention and energy. Then they're going to make money off it by selling ads. Same thing goes with Facebook. Facebook wants more attention, more of that power, more of that energy. And then they use it again. They build a huge network and then wind up being able to do a lot with that network. Well, I hope this video doesn't wind up having latency. I'm trying out a new setup here, so hopefully I can get it sorted out. And if I have issues with this, I will upload it as an audio only video. I can start seeing a bit of a lag, which is why I brought it up. But anyway, let's just push forward and do the best, latency or not, okay? So, we all have this pool of energy within us. It's important to protect it. I actually just started a Bandcamp page and I've started uploading downloadable audio talks, and I talk about this energy source, how to protect it and how to build it, how to nurture it. So I'll put a link down below. If you guys are interested, you'll be able to listen to it for free or download if you desire to have it on your iPhone or whatever. Okay? So you'll have that option as well. And we give that energy, we spend it. Or a more precise way to describe it is our attention is hijacked by breasts, by amazing ass, by, porn sites. Or Facebook, lures us in by curiosity or the fake sense of community. That's ultimately what it is. Porn sites are offering a fake sense of sex. It's not real sex, but we get that sense of, well, when are you ever going to be able to like do the things that are happening on a porn site? Rarely in life. Or to be with girls as good looking or guys as good looking. Very rarely. So what they're selling you is this diluted, fake, not real sense of sex. And these are instinctual needs we have. Community. We need community. We need sex. We need to eat. Okay, these are programmed within us And it's very difficult to block and go against those instincts, and there's no reason to either. They're healthy, they're there for a reason, except porn sites or social media like Facebook or whatever, Instagram, whatever it is, there's tons of them now. What they do is they trick our senses. So our senses think and feel like we're getting sex, we're getting community, we feel connected, we feel loved, we feel safe, we feel secure, we don't feel alone, right? They give us those fake senses, but why is it that we feel so depressed or anxious or empty after using Facebook or Instagram or porn sites? Because we're not actually getting anything out of them. They're fake. We're not actually getting a result. You know, when you have sex, real sex with someone, there are repercussions. I don't mean that in a bad way, but there are results. You create a bond, you create a relationship. You can create a family. The same with community, with Facebook. When you're actually going out there and, creating a real community, whether it's in a gym, whether it's through jiu-jitsu, martial arts, whether you go to dancing classes, cooking classes, whether you're studying at school or decide that, hey, I'm going to start some classes no matter what age you're at, whatever it is. If you go and play soccer, if you're playing rugby, if you're playing basketball, squash, poker, whatever it is that you're going to actually go out in the real world and meet people and do these things, then there are results, real results. And those real results are what help us to not feel empty, not feel that depression, that anxiety, that dissatisfaction that social media gives us, that these porn sites, porn apps, dating apps can give us, right? So it's important to understand that our power and our energy is there to drive us to accomplish things, to get those results. But these apps and these fake forms of community, fake forms of sex, even fake forms of dating. Dating apps now are increasingly being used. And people aren't meeting each other. They're just, hooking up even virtually, virtual sex. There was I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was Sylvester Stallone, and I think it was like this. He was like a Wesley Snipes was in it, and he was frozen in time, and then thawed out in the future, and then he comes back in the future. I can't remember the name of the movie. Actually, quite a brilliant movie in terms of foresight and visionary thinking. And there was a scene in there where he's sitting there, and there's this gorgeous girl, who's one of his coworkers, and she asks him if he wants to have sexual intercourse, and he's like, hell yeah, let's do this. So she sits down, and they wear these bathrobes, and it's an incredible scene, great movie. I recommend it. I don't know if it still holds up, but it's a great movie. And they just sit there, and he's just like, what's going on here? When are we going to get to the sexual intercourse? And I think she puts on like a little visor or something, and she gives him this visor to wear, and then they start having sexual intercourse without touching. And he comes out and he's like, what? This is ridiculous. This isn't like. And then she's like, what, you want to do it the old-fashioned way? Ew. I think that was her response. But how like visionary that was. This is way before dating apps, way before all of this. But it's happening now. People are having virtual sex every day. And as I said, there's that feeling of dissatisfaction, that feeling of emptiness afterwards because you're not getting the results. Yes, the apps and the social media, they trick you into going down those paths, but then right at the end, it's like a bait and switch. It's like, haha, we got your attention, we got your time, thank you, but you're not going to get anything out of this. So it's those types of situations that we have to go through the world and guard our energy and make sure that whatever we put our power into, there's going to be a result. It's going to be sharing. It's not just giving, and not receiving anything back. When we invest into things, we should be investing wisely so that there's a return. It doesn't mean that everything we do has to be with the expectation of getting something back in return. It's just wise use of your energy. There's in the Bible it says, you reap what you sow, right? So you get back what you put in. So if I put my attention and power and time into planting seeds, growing them, then eventually the fruit will come and I will be rewarded by the fruit. Not only is the tree happy because I helped the tree grow, but the tree gives back. So it's a share, it's an exchange. Okay? And it doesn't work just with us and trees. This is going to work with people, it's going to work with things like dating apps and all of that. You got to ask yourself, is there an exchange or am I just being drained? Am I just being sucked like a leech? Are these things predatory or are they healthy, uplifting, strengthening, right? So just going back to some of the reasons for why I finally decided. So for me, Facebook had me hooked for a number of reasons. The main ones I should say were that I have my record label, I have my bands, and for business, right? It was something that I needed to maintain those pages. I was reaching a lot of people. A lot of our fans were there and are still there. But I wound up over the past 13 years accumulating maybe 1,500 so-called friends, right? Through my music, through my bands. Then I have my family, and then I have my business, work friends. Then you've got the gym friend, and there's all community, all different types of communities, and all these people are not being forgotten. All these people are taking up room in your head, taking real estate in your head. So even just long lost people from like school when we were young, from kids from high school, just suddenly coming out and being able to interact and you're reconnecting. I don't think we're biologically geared for that. I mean, of course, we're going to evolve, and if we continue down this path, we will evolve to be more geared for that. But currently, I don't believe we are. I believe that we're supposed to lose friends, and we're supposed to move from village to village or town to town, country to country, and it frees up your mind. It frees up your mind for new people, for meeting new friends, for experiencing new things. Our mind, I see it as it's very similar to a hard drive. And the more that gets saved on there, the slower the computer runs. And I believe it's also the same with all the things we're learning and absorbing, and all the friends and all the people, or all the friends, all the people you meet, and they're continuously in your life through Facebook or social media, takes up time because you'll think of them, even if it's just a little bit of thought on each one. It's draining, it's energy, it's you're spending resources. Sure, you might think just a split second on one person and a split second on another, but just having their lives every day pop up and initiating that thought takes a little energy. Even if it's a tiny amount, it all adds up and it all can wear you down. Now, just because I quit Facebook doesn't mean that, hey, that's the right way to go. No, I believe that if you're disciplined enough and you can be balanced and be able to, be disciplined and restrict yourself and, hey, come online maybe 15 minutes a day and then that's it. And then, you've got your life and meditating and all that. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that at all. For me, I'm more of a obsessive person. I put my obsessive drive into music, into sports, into martial arts, and something like Facebook, for me, it can be difficult. So what I finally did was, well, because I need those pages for my record label, for my bands, etc., I just started a new account, made myself an admin, and I'm not going to add any friends on that account. It's going to be just myself, and I'm going to simply use it to manage those pages until hopefully someday I won't even need to have those pages up anymore. But my other account that for 13 years with all my friends and family and everything has been finally deleted. And it's an incredibly liberating feeling. It's, as I said, because you're no longer spending that attention on giving away your power to others. Whether it's through likes or simply scrolling through and looking at their lives and thinking of them. We spend we spend energy through our attention. Attention is power. Remember that. Attention is power, and everyone out there in the world wants that power. Whether it's advertisers, corporations, everyone wants you to sign up, wants you to subscribe, wants you to buy, right? And it's okay. Some of that is okay if it's worth it, if you're getting something in return. If you're getting something that helps you, strengthens you, is good for your life, then it's absolutely fine. We live in a world where it runs and operates on money. And if it's left to do that naturally, I think it can be fine. It's just, for example, when the government comes in and starts to prop up banks. Banks were going to fail, weren't they? Remember a few years ago, they were all on the verge of collapse, which should have happened. They should have been left to collapse because of their greed. It's their greed that took them there. And capitalism, you could argue, was working, except because those banks or those huge corporations were integral to the national security of a country, the country stepped in and bailed them out. But if capitalism is just left alone, I believe greedy corporations will fail, greedy people out there will fail, and companies, corporations, small businesses that are actually putting their life and love into things, into their food, into whatever it is, they will rise up. They will be rewarded until they possibly become greedy and lose their path. And then the people will, nature will bring balance. So sadly, we live in a world where it's very complicated. There's a lot of parties involved, and but I'm always hopeful. I genuinely am optimistic and hopeful, and I see that we're moving in the right direction, and we shouldn't be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Things are adjusting and evolving and adapting, and more and more than ever, humans are finding their way, finding what works. Love works, honesty works, transparency works, respect of all things, above love even, works. So that was a little slight tangent. For those of you who have been following my videos, you'll know that does tend to happen. Anyway, back to social media. So one of the main reasons that I quit is because of that leaking of energy, right? I want to protect my power. Why? Because once I identify that those are fake versions of sex, fake versions of society and community, once you take the fakeness away, that driver is still very strong inside. That drive, that instinctual drive we have for community, for sex, for whatever it is, security, comfort, all of those things that are just instinctually programmed within us, that's not going to go away. But now that you can't get that fix, or you can't get that satisfaction, that fake, false, like a nicotine patch, you can't get it through Facebook or through porn sites or through dating apps, well, what's going to happen? It's going to drive you to, it's still going to be there, it's still going to drive you, but you're going to be driven now towards a better version, more of a real thing. So, for example, I found that once I quit Facebook, now I was emailing people more, or calling people more, or texting people more. Yes, you're thinking, well, hey, that's still not the best way. You should be meeting face to face. Totally agree. But at least it's an improvement, right? And then you can, basically, it's more richer. You're moving towards richer forms of communication. At least I can hear someone's voice now, right? Or now I'm having more direct interaction with someone. And then, of course, the next steps after that will be, if you can limit your texting and your phone calls. Back in the day, we used to complain about phone calls. Like, oh, why don't you meet face to face? Phone calls are so, right? So it's a ladder. Be aware of that ladder and move more towards richer forms, more rewarding forms, where you're going to feel energized. You're not going to feel that emptiness and depression afterwards. Same goes with the porn apps or the porn sites. You, if you're able to, there's programs out there where you can block those porn sites, and they disable you from accessing them. If you're able to do that and block and restrict yourself, even, my next thing is going to be getting rid of my phone. I'm going to, every time I drop this, I feel happy. I'm like, yes, die. Right? Yeah, of course I use the phone for a few important things, but I had no phone for about 3.5 years, and it was great. Life went on perfectly. And as I said, when you're able to eliminate the poorer forms, whether it's porn, well, with no porn, you're going to, let's say, go down the ladder in a healthier way. It might be you're going to have to use your imagination now to satisfy yourself. Or, many people who do no FAP wind up finding that they talk more to girls, they have more confidence with women, and that drive inside them forces them. It's like, I don't have time to be nervous or shy. Like, I need that female interaction. I'm gonna meet up with girls, even if it's as friends. So that drive is finally being channeled in the correct way. And rather than everyone out there, like, why am I still single, and why am I having trouble dating? And well, because you're getting that satisfaction, your fix through porn sites. You're jacking off or satisfying yourself to the hottest people in the most craziest sexual situations and scenarios that, you know, that's going to compete with your reality, with what you're able to do in reality. But if you can take those away, if you can at least start reducing them, taking them away overnight is not a very clever way to do it. By the way, you got to like slow it down and phase it out. That's how it happens, and strength will come. You will find it's the strength. You measure your progress in weeks, not in days, but you will get stronger and stronger and more able. So yeah, again, I hope there isn't going to be latency and lagging in this video. Um, and then when you don't have the porn sites, the dating apps to depend on, this driver for sex, for reproduction, for family, for bonding, for community, it's going to drive you to make more of an effort to dress well, to be more attractive, to go learn how to speak to people and communicate with people. It's going to force you to do that. That's one side of the sword, or edge, or whatever you want to call it. That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is you won't be leaking that energy in the wrong places that make you depressed, that make you unfulfilled, that make you sad. So it's a two double edged, or it's not a double edged sword, that's not the right expression, but it's a two-way approach, a double what is it, two-pronged approach, right? So it's two ways. You're patching up the holes so you're not leaking this energy and power out. And then you're also utilizing this power to strengthen yourself even more. You're cultivating, you're harnessing this power, and it will be channeled. All right? And that brings me to the another, probably the biggest reason of all why I've eventually quit Facebook. And, I hope it doesn't disappoint everyone, but I'm also considering quitting the Instagram that I recently started for this channel, because I'm finding similar sort of things going on with that. But I do want to have a way that I can offer uh, cool things, because like I've got some ideas with this channel, like the Bandcamp page, for example, that I have, and you can download the talks. I'm gonna give away like codes, free download codes, so people, the most hardcore followers, the people who have been there the longest, will get like, just some rewards for, having been following for so long. Okay, so I might be doing that in some way. I might do it through my Instagram, because the Instagram, I kind of like mentioned it only a couple times in my videos just to see, get an idea of like who the longest supporters and, all the people who are more interested. I want to give them something back. Okay, so the the other main reason, big reason for why, and this is huge if you're a creative person, not just creative, but just everyone is. As a creative person, I was finding that we all have something to say. We all want to be heard. At the end of the day, that's what Facebook is doing. It's giving us this opportunity to share our voice, whether you're young, old, poor, rich, you live wherever in the world, we all have this platform, and we're able to share our way of life, our voice. It's no longer how it was in the 90s or 10 or 15 years ago, where it was just celebrities and we were just following the lives of celebrities and what they eat. And now it's like this hive, and you are able to go, everyone's got a voice. And we'll all gravitate towards the more interesting voices, right? The more interesting lives. So what I had found is that it was diluting my voice, because look, artists, musicians, creative people, anyone who builds and creates, whether it's gardening or whatever, you'll understand this more. Especially musicians and artists. We love to build and build and build. Why is it that people get into art and music? Because they're not able to perhaps speak well in public. They're not so social. They don't have the social skills, perhaps. Their voice is being suppressed. So when your voice is suppressed, it's not a bad thing. At the end of the day, we all will be heard one way or another. Sadly, we look at the news and we see what's going on in, Vegas, or the other day at the church, people going on doing mass killings and shootings. And, the FBI are like, well, why? Why? Well, I think a big part of it is people want to be heard. People want to be remembered. If you look at the pharaohs, they used to build pyramids. Took them sometimes centuries to build, so that they'll be remembered. They were buried with all their belongings because they were so, what? Afraid of death. At the end of the day, it's our fear of death that drives a lot of all of this. We know that because we have this fear of not being remembered, not being heard, not being understood. Not being understood is one of the biggest reasons why we can suffer. Someone can hurt you, if they misunderstand you. You feel, I'm not understood. People don't understand me. It all comes down to that. I'm not being heard. I'm not being seen. We all want to feel like we have a purpose. We all want to exist. And the less we feel that sense of we exist or sense of purpose or our voice is not being heard, the more sad and empty we can feel. So for musicians and artists, I strongly advise very limited use of Facebook. Why? Because rather than expressing your voice through a million or hundreds of or thousands of little statuses and you release that, oh, fuck Donald Trump, boom, it's released. Or, you know, I love this, or I hate this, or I don't like this, or this sucks. You're basically expressing yourself, but in a very diluted form. Whereas artists and musicians, you know, harness usually that power because they can't speak, because they aren't being heard, and they decide, you know what, the world will hear me. I'm going to create a painting, I'm going to create a song, I'm going to create an album, whatever it is. I'm going to build a building, I'm going to build a garden, whatever, however form your creativity is expressed. I'm going to cook the most incredible food, and through my food, I'm going to speak. Through my music, I'm going to be heard. Through my paintings, I'll be making statements, right? And when we do it that way, those statements, those expressions, they can sometimes last. I'm not going to say through eternity, but I do personally believe that those ripples are so strong that they can affect the entire universe. If it's not through eternity, then for sure it's way longer than what a status update would do. The impact of a status update is more like not even a ripple in an ocean. It's forgotten. Even if your Facebook and your social media is amazing for months and years, and then suddenly it's not, all that will be forgotten. But if you're able to channel all your power and energy and love into an album, into music, it will have an impact for hundreds, thousands of years possibly, with now how everything's being saved and captured online. Everything's being preserved in digital form, possibly for millions of years to come. So that was a huge reason for me, and this is a reason why I highly recommend creative people, especially, or, if you're a writer, if whatever it is, your energy, channel it, harness it into something productive, into something creative, rather than diluting it through social media. All right, so those are, I think, some of the key points there. As I said, I've just started a new Bandcamp page, and I have put it down so that you can pay for downloads. I'm gonna be trying to save as much money as possible that comes through this channel to build this channel, so that I will be able to spend more of my time on this. I'd love to eventually start interviewing people and get like a better, more consistent background set, or whatever you want to call it, going on. Um, so I hope that these talks help. I hope that they bring strength and energy and guidance into your lives, and they just help in some way. Remember never to be too overly dependent on the characters, including, this channel, myself, through life. Use them, use them as guides. We all need guides, but, move towards, constantly be trying to move towards more rich, information rich, or healthier sources of interaction. Well, and always ask yourself, come back to that ladder. What's the ladder? Well, if porn is like on one end of the spectrum and real sex and love and families on the other, well, and then you can go down the ladder, what those things are. Make sure you're moving in the right direction.